Hi everyone, welcome back to Layer Academy. It's Mickey again, and in this lesson, we're going to get our database models up and running and set up our relationships. Let's dive right in by creating our two models that we're going to be using. Let's make sure we open up our terminal, and we can run the following command: phpartisan make model models/article. And we can also run phpartisan make model, and then again models/category. Now if we switch over to our IDE and we look inside the app folder, you can see we now have a new folder called models, and the two models are inside this. This just keeps it a little bit cleaner. We'll start off with our article model. The first thing we're going to have to do is tell Laravel what the fillable fields are. So we'll make a protected variable called fillable, and it is an array, and it's going to accept 3 items here because we have a title, we have the markdown content, and finally the active flag. Now in addition to the fillable fields, because we have an active flag which is true or false, let's also tell Laravel to cast that variable to a boolean. So we refer to the field name, which is active, and then the type is boolean. Now we can move on to our relationship. Let's just take a minute to think about this. Our article has or can belong to many categories. So we can create a function called categories, and it's not going to accept any variables, and we're going to return a relationship. So we'll say this, and the relationship that we want to use in this case is belongs to many. Now we have to tell this relationship what model that we're referring to, which is going to be our category model. And the next parameter, we're going to pass in our pivot table name. Now we don't have to do this, but we're just going to follow it through. And next we need our local key. And finally we need the foreign key. So once again, our relationship, the article belongs to many categories. And the pivot table is article category. The local key, which is article ID, and the foreign key is category ID. Now we can test this out using Tinker. So once again, let's load up our terminal and run phpartisan tinker. Now let's query our pivot table to see what we're working with. We can access our pivot table using the db facade. So we'll say db table, pass in our pivot table, which is article category, and let's just use the get command. Now that we know what articles we're working with, let's use the article ID of 10 and let's query our database. First, we'll make a variable and we'll call it article, and we want to load up our model, and we're going to use the find function to find the article with the ID of 10. So you can see we have some information here, but now let's try our relationship. We'll say article and then type in categories. You can see our relationship is working. You can see the category right here, the name, it's active, and we also have access to the pivot table if we need it. Now we can exit Tinker, and let's switch back over to our IDE and let's work on the category.php, or the category model. Just like before, we need a fillable field, so we'll protected variable fillable, and in our case we're only going to be using the name and the active field. And just like before with active, because it is true or false, we want to tell Laravel to cast this as a boolean. So protect a cast, and the field that we want is active, and cast it as a boolean value, which is true or false. Now we have the fun part of writing the inverse of our relationship. Well, just like before, our category has many or belongs to many articles. So technically what we can do is just write almost the exact same relationship that we used in the articles table. We'll start off with defining a function, and the function we'll call articles, and once again it's going to accept no parameters, and we'll return a relationship. Just like before, we'll say belongs to many, and we need to refer to the model, which is app/models/article, and now we can pass in our pivot table, which is article category, and this time our local key is category ID, and our foreign key is article ID. Now that we have our relationship in place, let's save everything and switch over to our terminal. We'll load up Tinker by typing PHP Artisan Tinker. And once again, let's just have a look at what is inside our pivot table. Again, we can use the DB facade, calling the table, article, category, and we'll just use the get command. Now in here, there's a whole bunch of different ones, and I'm going to find a category that has more than one article. I can see here that we have category 10 that looks like it has 2 articles here. So we'll use this category. So we'll create a variable and we'll call it category, and we'll refer to app models category, and we'll find the category with 10. Now with this category, let's check the articles that are included. We'll pass in the relationship, and you can see that we have our 2 articles here. So now that we have our categories and we also have our articles, our relationships are done, our models are set up, and we're ready to start working on the front end. I want to say thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.